Okay guys, so welcome back to Overwatch. I am Ninja Andrew, and today we're going to be taking a look at how I would balance the characters in Overwatch. This is basically going to be a fairness balance. This is how I would have balanced the characters had I been God and could have done this since the game first came out. And thanks to the new game browser update, we're actually able to do this now for our custom lobbies and custom matches. So I'm going to show you how I like to tweak my characters when I go into a game. Now, bear in mind, this has just come out and I haven't fully tested all of these characters, so I'm just going off of my gut instinct, my natural reaction, and my feelings that I've always had about what I wish I could have done with these characters. So I'm just going to do that, but it's just to give you a rough idea of like the kinds of directions that I would try to move in to make the game, I think, more fun for everybody, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to go in here. To start a custom match, you want to go to your arcade and go to the Create Game tab, and it's going to show you your lobby. There's a bunch of other options here as far as inviting your friends, being able to switch them around from different teams. You can even add bots to your game, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not really going to get into all that right now. If you guys would like me to do like a full in-depth tutorial of how everything in this works, I can do that, but right now I just want to go over how I would tweak the characters. So I'm going to go here under Settings. Once again, there's a whole bunch of options here that I'm not really going to get too far into because there's just too many to go over. But the main important one, I feel, is if you're going to be doing this at all, you should probably balance the characters at least so that everybody has a fighting chance. So we're going to go in here, and this gives you the ability to individually customize pretty much every single character's ability, barring their their main damage attacks. So like you can do little tweaks to them, but there's certain things that you obviously can't change. Like you can't change like the spread of a weapon or something like that. You can only change maybe a little bit about how it fires, but we'll get into that. So basically I'm going to go through one by one here alphabetically and tweak every single character the way that I would tweak them if I had only been able to do this since the game first came out. So basically when you go into each character, at the top it has tweaks for their abilities and their ultimate, and then down underneath it has options for just other basic stats that they have. So I'm just going to go through one by one and sort of give you my rationale for why I want to change things this way and what I think that's going to do for the game. So basically we're starting here with Ana. She's the healing sniper. My feelings when I'm playing Ana is that her healing grenade doesn't spawn quickly enough and her sleep dart doesn't respawn quickly enough. I wish that it would spawn probably about twice as quickly so that they're there when you need them, because they're like, I'm not a master player with Ana, but they are a bit tricky to use, and she doesn't really have like a movement mode or a way to get out of the way or anything. She kind of deserves to be able to like heal herself up a little bit or shoot to trank an enemy down if she needs to get away and go and hide somewhere. So I'm going to switch both of these to be 50%. Oops, there we go. So then theoretically that means that it should happen twice as fast. I don't have any problem with how fast her nano boosts ultimate charges, so I'm just going to leave that the way it is. Similarly, like her damage dealt, I feel is low. I feel for Ana, you often end up having to hit an enemy like 4 times, even for like a low level enemy, and even more so for tanks and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to actually buff her damage, just straight up buff the damage, and I'm going to give her like a pretty moderate, like it's a decent buff of 125. So hopefully now it'll take 3 shots. That's my goal, is like hopefully, like it's still on the cusp of 4 hopefully, but she might be able to take out some enemies now with 3 shots, and it's just going to do a little bit more damage. It's going to make her a little bit more usable, and you're not going to have to feel like that you're always going to have to stay back on characters. Now Ana is going to be like capable of moving along with everybody else and maintaining that, and she doesn't have to like hang back and hide and stuff quite as much, right? Because she can throw her grenades on herself, throw it on the group, make people sleep, and she's doing a bit more damage. So I think that makes her more usable. That's that's the direction I'm going in with this. So damage received, she's going to take the same amount of damage. She gets hit by somebody, I have no problem with her taking the same amount of damage, right? Same with healing dealt and healing received. That's fine. Although maybe I might have to increase the healing dealt in order to match the damage dealt, because then she's going to have to shoot more times in order to heal somebody. So I'm just going to buff those both to the same. There we go. And healing received, that'll stay the same. Health will stay the same. I'm going to buff her movement speed as well, a moderate amount. So there we go. And her projectile speed I find is okay. So I'm not gonna change her rate of fire. Her rate of fire is gonna stay the same. You're still gonna have to fire the same rate. So that's basically, there you go. So you got receive headshots only. That's if you want to make it so the only way to kill this character is to get headshots received on yourself. I don't know why you would do this unless you were doing maybe for 1v1s, you know what I mean, to make it like a headshot duel or something like that, but I'm going to leave that off for every single character. So basically, there you go. Anna can now use both of her abilities twice as quickly, and she does a little bit more damage and can move around a little bit faster. So should make her a little bit more survival, a little bit more comparable to some of the other characters, in my opinion. Alright, so we're going to go back here, and next we're going to do Bastion. Now, Bastion is a different story, right? Bastion, I don't have any problem with his reconfigure cooldown time, because you can reconfigure whenever you want. There is no cooldown on reconfigure. And the tank ultimate ability charges same as everybody else, so I don't have a problem with that either. He does do a decent amount of damage, so I'm not really too concerned with that either. Neither damage received, healing dealt, or healing received. He heals himself at a decent rate. There's nothing that really needs to be changed about that. Same with his health, and same with his movement speed. Like, there's nothing that you really need to change about Bastion, because I'm sort of using him as, like, if he's a standard, everybody else should be able to be as effective as he is. That kind of thing, right? So if I was going to do anything at all here, just to make Bastion a little bit more of a pain in the ass, I would put like 15 on the damage dealt and maybe on the projectile speed, but I'm just going to leave him for now because I don't think he really needs anything. He's going to be kind of a baseline character for me, right? Next we're going to go with Diva. Now Diva, I think Diva should get to use her boosters more often. Now, I know that the boosters can be kind of cheese when you use them to push people off of ledges, and maybe doing this tweak is going to be a mistake, but I would like to be able to use her boosters twice as much when I'm using them. It's something that you want it to be there when you need to get out of the way or when you need to go somewhere. So it's like, it's going to make her a little bit trickier of a character to nail down, which I think is probably a bit more about how she needs to be played. And then self-destruct, I'm going to leave that the same. There's a problem that I have with Diva, though. The problem that I have with Diva is the damage at range. I don't have a problem with her damage up close, because she can still kill somebody, but her damage at range is just pitiful. So I'm actually going to buff her damage. I think I would do it like to 115, but I really want the damage at range to be a little bit better. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at 115. I think if I put it up to 125, that would be too much, right? And so I'm also going to increase the projectile speed for her. And maybe that I'll increase a little bit more. So hopefully now she's going to be a bit more lethal, reaching out at a further distance, because the projectiles are going to be getting there faster, and she's got a little bit more damage to go with it. So that's kind of the idea behind those two things. And movement speed I'm going to leave because she's got now the charge ability. She can boost around a lot faster, so I don't need to change anything there. Same with the rest of the stats here. I don't think she needs any other tweaks but just the ability to use her boost more, and the ability to get a little bit more range out of her main attack. Next we have Genji. Sweet. Now Genji, this is probably the character that I'm going to make the biggest mistake on, but this is how I think it should work for Genji. And I know that there's somebody out there who's going to be like, man, I need to play on this guy's server all the time, man. But it's like, I think you should be able to use his deflect ability pretty often. I think it should be like there when you need it, which is weird for me to say, but it's like, I think it should you should have more access to that, and I think you should have even more access to the Swift Strike, because you should be using that to like get around a little bit more. So this is gonna make him lethal. Like this is in the right hands. This is a very lethal combination of giving him that Swift Strike ability to go over and over and over again. But he doesn't really have a lot of health, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, he can get taken out with a couple shots from a Roadhog, or, you know what I mean? So if Roadhog pulls him, you know, he's going to be like jumping all over the place, but if Roadhog pulls him, then he's done, right? So, or if, you know, somebody gets on him with a weapon that he can't really block. So just something to think about. I'm going to leave the damage the same, damage received the same, healing, all that the same. And I'm going to leave his movement speed the same. So he doesn't get a boost to be able to run around faster. That's always going to be the same, but he still gets the Swift Strikes and all that. And I'm going to leave his projectile speed alone, because I don't think he needs a boost. He does decent damage, you know. If I was going to tweak this, if this doesn't work, if I was going to tweak this in any way, I would reduce his health. And I would give him, like, maybe 75% health or whatever, like, you know, try to find that common ground so that he's really strong but really weak at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, really, really strong DPS out, but, you know, you got to be really tactical with him and get the heck out of the way when you can in order to survive with him. So that's just like, I might even also reduce the Swift Strike ability even more if it does it. Like, if it's not an instant cooldown at 25%, I would almost try to make it, like, if not instant, maybe 2-second cooldown. 2-second cooldown is probably what I would want for it, you know? So just stuff to think about as far as how Genji works. You know, you guys might want to do different things with your game, but this is just how I feel the character should have always worked from the beginning, right? So let's do some more. Hanzo, Scatter Arrow, and Sonic Arrow. I don't feel like he gets the ability to use these enough, but I also don't want to give him, like, the ability to use them just too much. So I'm going to go with a 75% on both of those. So he gets them a little bit faster, he can use them a little bit more, but then it's not a crutch. He's not just always using the scatter shot or always using the sonar or the sonic and the scatter shot combo just over and over. It's just, you know, he can use them when he needs to, essentially. And so I actually also think that Hanzo should do more damage, and I know that there's going to be people out there that are going to be like, no, what are you doing? He takes me out in one shot. And it's like, yeah, he takes you out in one shot, but there's some other guys that he can't take out in one shot that he should as well. So it's like, let's balance it so everybody gets taken out with one shot, and then it won't be just you getting taken out with one shot by one, like, you know, headshot, well aimed, full, you know, drawback on it and all that kind of stuff. Like, let's make Hanzo lethal. Let's give him what he deserves. You know what I mean? And because he can't really move around all that much. You know, he's kind of slow. He's another one of these characters that always ends up hanging out at the back because he can't be in the heat of it. And it's like, so, you know, let's give him a buff. Let's give him a nice buff. Let's give him a 125, right? Damage received, healing, and all that is going to stay the same. Same with his health is going to stay the same, because if you kill him, right? But I'm also going to increase his movement speed because he can't move around all that quickly. And so when you spawn as Hanzo sometimes and you need to get back into battle, you're like, come on, dude, like, let's go. Like, why are you walking? You know what I mean? So it's like he needs to be able to, like, move quickly. The thing with this is that by increasing his movement speed, I'm also hoping that it makes it slightly harder to aim with him, because you're going to move more pressing the stick in any direction, right? So it's going to be just, you're going to have to be a little bit more touchy on the stick in order to get those headshots. So it kind of balances it out a little bit, you know what I mean? But that's what I would do in order to compensate, to make him more viable, just like everybody else, right? Just like every other character in the game that you want to play with. You want to get on him and be like, okay, I can do some work with this now, you know? So let's go on to Junkrat. So Junkrat, once again, I feel like he can't use his abilities often enough. So I would do a full-on 50 for each of these, so that he can use them twice as much. I don't know if that's going to be often enough, but I think it should be. You know, he shouldn't have them all the time, but he should have to wait a little bit, but he should be able to, like, get the party started with some concussion mines, or throw his steel trap down when he needs to. Like if one gets tripped and he traps somebody in it, you should be able to throw down another, you know, cover the door again or whatever. Because then it makes it so that you actually have to worry about these things, instead of it just being like, oh, I stepped in the trap and, you know, my team will take care of him, you know, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, you know. So his Riptire, can you keep that the same? Because, once again, everybody's ultimate is... We're all used to how their ultimates work. We're all used to how often they charge, you know... Unless there was a character that specifically had an ultimate that I was like, it's going to be impossible to get, like, major kills with this, then, you know, I think, you know, the hardest one is, like, Anna, probably, to get them with, so maybe I'd tweak her someday, but I haven't really gotten into any of that and don't think I need to. So, moving on, for damage, for Junkrat, I also find that Junkrat... takes a few too many shots sometimes to kill somebody at range. It's like, if you directly hit somebody, you can usually kill them, most people, in 2 shots. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 for the other characters. But I still feel like that sometimes that becomes too much when you're, like, hitting them with the splash damage at range and they're not really, like, reacting to you, and they're just standing there kind of shooting back at you, and it's like, they should be running from grenades. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh man, you know, I can just, you know, waltz all around. Junkrat isn't somebody I have to worry about or whatever. So I'm gonna give him a sizable boost too, because I think he deserves it. I think you know, it makes him somebody that you don't want to run into, somebody that you're like, oh crap, it's Junkrat. Which I know you're gonna be like, but why, man? You're making all these characters evil. But it's like, they should be. You should be like, oh no, here comes that person. Here comes for every single one of them, right? You should be like, oh crap, right? It shouldn't just be like a waltz in the park, and you know, like, oh, I can totally take this person out. You know. You gotta. That's what the balance is, man. And I like it when it's a hardcore balance like that, where it's like, yeah, if you're gonna get past this person, it's because of ability, you know, for both ways, right? So damage received, healing, all that is gonna stay the same, but I'm also gonna give him a little boost. Probably not quite as much as the snipers, right? Because Hanzo, he's a sniper type character. He needs the ability to, like, get back into battle and move around a little bit more, where Junkrat is technically a ranged player. You do want to play him defensively insofar as you want to stay back and let the splash damage of your grenades take care of as much as possible, and use your traps to guard yourself as much as you can, right? Or to get around. But technically you're supposed to be, like, supporting your team. You're supposed to be like, I'm gonna hang out here with the healer and the tank and just, like, keep everybody else away from us, or get everybody off the point from a range. So he should have the ability to move around a little bit faster, to get back into battle, to get out of the way, you know, that kind of thing. But he shouldn't be like, oh man, I'm jogging to get right up into the action, as quickly as possible again, which I think snipers should be able to do that. So, because you should be able to play a sniper long range and close range. That's just my opinion, but there we go. So that's Junkrat's Balance. We're going to do Lucio next. So Lucio, I feel like his Amp It Up, you could use it more often. It's probably going to make him OP as heck, so I'm not going to give him too much of a balance there, or switch there, but basically he's going to be able to use his... Oh, sorry, that's my phone. Jesus, I don't even know where it is. So I'm going to give him the ability to use this Amp It Up ability just more often, because I think that, like, oftentimes you'll be playing as Lucio, you'll be shooting and shooting, you'll use the Amp It Up, and then you'll be like waiting around, your team needs healing, you're waiting for the enemy to get back to you, and you're only able to use the Amp It Up, like, once they've gotten back and they've started fighting with you for a little while. It's not like, oh, we killed the enemy team and here guys, I Amp It Up and everybody's back up, topped up again. So I feel like he should be able to top everybody up. He's a healer, that's what they do, you know what I mean? Crossfade, you can use that as often as you want, so there's no need to change it, and same with his ultimate. I don't think there's any need to change that. I would like Lucio to do a little bit more damage at range. I don't know how much I would tweak this, so I'd probably do only a 115, and I'd give him a 115 on projectile speed to match it as well, so that way a little bit longer range on his stuff, but not hopefully too OP, because most people don't know that, like, if you know how to use Lucio's hits rights, he does do a lot of damage. So I don't want to like go overboard with him, because some people are like, oh no, I only hit him with 1 out of every 5 shots, so it only does that much damage. It's like, no, you need to hit him with all of your shots and then see what it does. But moving on, basically that's what I would do. Lucio's movement speed I'm also going to leave the same. For the same reason, I don't think I changed it on Genji. At least I hope I didn't change it on Genji. But movement speed for Lucio, I know you've probably run into a player who's playing as Lucio who's running and jumping all over the place and you can't hit him. Obviously, he already has no problem with being able to move around, so I'm not going to like give him some sort of crazy ability to, like, go super speed here or something. So we'll leave that alone. McCree. Oh, McCree. So McCree is the kind of character that I think needs one of the biggest buffs, because I don't like using him, and he is the quintessential character in this game that you have to stay back in order to use, but your ability is kind of made for close range, and it's like, how is that helpful at all? How is that helpful at all? So I'm going to actually change these, and I'm hoping that this is often enough. 25 for both of his, because I want to change McCree from being that guy that has to stay at the back into the guy that's in the middle, screwing everything up for everybody. And you're going to see that even more here in a second, but I think he should be able to make things very difficult. You should take McCree seriously, because he's kind of like that Clint Eastwood character, right? So it's like you don't want to mess with him. You want to be like, you don't want to be like, oh, there's a McCree, I have a chance to kill him because, he's like a 2-shot for me, right? And he's not going to be able to hit me with anything at this range to be able to do much to me, right? So it's like, no, let's change him into somebody that you're like, I'm going to hide behind this rock because there's McCree. Maybe I can get some headshots off when he's turned around or something and surprise him, right? So combat roll, flashbang, 25%. I might even change those down to be even lower. I want those to be almost instantaneous, up to a 2-second. Like, that's kind of the range for an instantaneous move for me. And here we go, guys. Damage dealt by McCree. I think that McCree should be able to blow you away. So I'm going to give him a nice little buff there to his damage, and I might even push that up higher if it needs to be. I think that McCree should be able to take out most players with a single headshot. He should be able to take out most players with a double body shot, and he should be able to take out, you know, decent characters with 3 shots. So instead of like 4 or 5 or 6 and all that kind of stuff. So he's going to be a little bit more serious to deal with. That's at least my intent here. And I'm also going to give him a buff to movement speed, and I might actually give him the full buff as well, because he's just so slow. He doesn't move. He's just too slow. And I don't know if I need to change his projectile speed. So I'll give it a little buff. Because I think, like, there's sometimes when you're trying to shoot somebody at range and you get that shot on them, but it just doesn't feel like it counts. So hopefully that balances McCree out a little bit more, makes him a little bit more viable. I would leave the cryo freeze ability. That's her ability to heal herself and turn into the ice snowman. I would leave that the same. She can use that often enough as it is. There's no reason to change that. Ice wall, I'm going to make it like Lucio. You can use it a little bit more often, but not a whole lot more often. You know what I mean? Because it will be beneficial to your team to be able to use this ability more tactically, and that's my intention there. Damage dealt, everything else here, I'm going to leave the same. Exact same, not change anything. Because I know you guys have all played against Mei, and you all know that she's perfectly capable of moving across the map, freezing you, killing you, putting up ice walls, and healing herself, and surviving through, you know, all kinds of stuff. So there's no reason to change any of her other stats. She's once again kind of like a baseline like Bastion, like, you know, she works well already, and I'm bringing all the other characters up to a level that can compete with her. So next we have Mercy, and Mercy's ability, I think Guardian Angel is the one to burst towards. It's like you get that burst of speed and you dash towards the your allies. I think she should be able to use that more often. It's going to make her a little bit more flitty and flighty all over the map, but I think that's kind of how she should be playing. She should be dashing all over the place and hard to hit, but, you know, we'll see if we need to, you know, knock her down her health or something like that as well. I'm also going to increase her damage dealt. I think a pretty significant amount. Let's just do 115, because, you know, I don't want to give her too much. We'll see how that does. And then her movement speed is okay because she can dash all over. Everything else is just fine, and I'm not going to change... Well, I don't know. See, I don't know if I should do this, but I'm going to change her projectile speed. This is only for her pistol that I'm thinking of this for. The damage dealt and the projectile speed is to basically make her pistol just a little bit more lethal, so that she is not just a healer, she's also a DPS character that you could theoretically just play as a DPS to help your team out, if that's more your style. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the thought process there. Let's go on with Farrah. Farrah is another kind of baseline character for me, so I'm actually going to leave the concussive blast ability alone. I think that charge is just fine for her. The jump jet. I know that this is going to annoy people, but I'm actually going to give it to her to do it twice as much. Reason being is because I do... If you're skilled enough to use Farrah in the air, then you should be up there in the air, and I don't feel like that the punishment of being put down on the ground and not being able to get back up into the air is fair for her, in relation to how some of the other characters are going to be able to use their abilities also once I've tweaked them here. So it's just basically like, yeah, she's going to be up in the air, but you have to have players that are able to use that to their advantage in order to be able to gain an advantage from that. So sometimes that's going to help, sometimes it's going to be like whatever, you know what I mean? And as far as the ultimate, that's going to be left alone just like everybody else. And damage dealt, going to leave alone. All of this stuff I'm going to leave alone. Movement speed, projectile speed. Projectile speed, let's just give her a little boost. a little bit more deadly, but it's not changing how damaging the rockets are. It's just changing how fast they're going to get to you. So less hang time in the air, so to speak. Sometimes that can be an issue with trying to hit enemies with it. So there we go. Reaper once again. His Shadow Step ability I think is fine as far as I know. Like, you know, you can use that often enough. The Wraith form though, I'm going to give him an 85. Just a little bit more often. A little bit more often would be nice with that. Death Blossom I'm going to leave the same. Damage dealt. Let's give him a moderate. There we go. Gonna leave everything else the same. Yeah, just a little buff to the damage. No projectile speed for Reaper. So you still have to be up close with him, but hopefully he'll kill just a little bit better. You know what I mean? Turn him back into the Reaper that he used to be, where he, you know, dominated to some degree. And Reinhardt, I think his charge ability you need to be able to use like a little bit more often there. The Fire Strike, same thing. I would even say like Fire Strike you should be able to use quite often, because you have to put down your shield in order to do the attack. And when you put down your shield, you're taking a crazy amount of damage. So there's got to be a trade-off for putting down the shield and using the ability. It shouldn't just be like a, you know, oops, there it goes, you know, I missed them with it and now I'm screwed because I don't have anything else and here they go and kill me. It's like, now it's like, you know, I'm going to put my shield up and come and get me. Oops, I missed you, well, come and get me again. Oops, I missed you, well, come and get me again. And like go back and forth, and maybe you guys keep missing each other, but you know, if you hit them, you hit them. If you don't, you don't. That's the game that you're playing with each other, right? Damage dealt, this I'm going to actually increase as well, and this is for when he starts swinging with his hammer. Now that's probably too much of a boost, but yeah, no, I think it could still work. Basically, want to turn these characters into characters that you don't mess with, you know, so it's a sizable boost. Not going to change his health or anything else. Gonna leave his movement speed the same because now he can charge twice as much, so he'll be able to still get around. We don't have to worry about that. And projectile speed we will leave the same. Boom. So then moving on here, we got Roadhog. Roadhog, I've always felt like the chain ability should be a little bit more often, but not too often, you know. Same with the Take a Breather, but even less so. You should be able to use it when you need it, but it shouldn't be there like all the time, you know, that kind of thing. And his ultimate ability, same as everybody else, it's fine as far as I'm concerned. So Roadhog's damage dealt, let's give him a little boost. And we'll leave everything the same except movement speed. We're going to give him also a boost. And we're going to leave projectile speed alone because he should still remain a close range character. So I don't want to change that too much. Soldier 76 is the next with the Biotic Field. Once again, feel like you should get that a little bit more often, but not quite too often. The Sprint is fine because as far as I know, Sprint you can do as much as you want, so there's no sense in changing it. And same with Tactical Visor, that's all good. Soldier 76 I think also deserves a little boost, you know, like if you really think about it, guys, what I'm doing here is making every single character a little bit more badass, right? So it's like, yes, you're gonna die quicker, but that's because I don't think you should be able to take like 30 bullets. You know, you get shot, you know what I mean? That's how it should be working, you know. So gonna go through here. Damage received, healing dealt, healing received, all that stuff is gonna stay the same. His movement speed, let's leave the movement speed and let's just give him projectile speed so that the range is a little bit better, hopefully, with him. You know, he can get the bullets out there at a distance a little bit quicker, makes him a little bit more lethal, but we're not making it so that he can just like zoom all over the map and kill everybody, you know. Okay, next is Sombra. So the stealth ability, I think that could be increased to about a 75. Translocator, that's the one where she like can warp back to the point. I don't know how often it is that you can use it, but I do feel like that you should be able to use it more often when I am using it, so I'm like, let's just do that then. Her damage dealt, let's do a little boost and leave her movement speed, and once again do projectile speed. So it's kind of similar idea as to the Soldier 76, you know. Makes her a little bit better at range, makes her a little bit more able to kill something quickly. And next we have Symetra, and Symetra's kind of interesting. So the photon barrier, we'll do 75%. The the sentry turret, I'm going to do like a 25%. I think Symetra should be able to put down the sentry turrets about as often as she would like. Kind of be able to move around the map a little bit more using the sentry turrets, like start in a room, put 2 outside the door, put 2 on the walls further up, you know, like move down a wall, like a corridor with your group and help them with your turrets when you need them. So I think that's cool. Also going to give her a slight damage boost. I am going to buff her movement speed, and I don't know if projectile speed does anything for her. I don't. So let's give her the same old top off that we've done everybody else. Oops, did I just hit that one more time? Sorry guys, going to go back in and... Yeah, okay, there we go. So next we have Torbjorn. Armor pack. It's kind of a weird one because you need to collect the scrap in order to be able to create armor packs, so there isn't really a cooldown time on the armor pack. Once you have the scrap, you just put it down, and you do that for as much scrap as you have, and then there's a cooldown time. I don't know what it is, but you know, I've never run into problems with being able to put down armor packs. Similarly with building a turret, it needs a little buff, but not much, you know, for those clutch moments where you need to be able to put the turret back out. But I don't want it to be like you can just instantaneous, like you're trying with your team to take one out at the back of the map, and you take that one out and he's instantaneously always got the next one somewhere else. You take out that next one, he's got another one. You take out, don't want it to be like that. He still has to wait a few seconds, but just not just sitting there in some corner being like, come on, and then it's not coming. You know what I mean? That's like, it needs to show up eventually. Same damage dealt, same little boost that we're giving mostly everybody else. I'm gonna leave his movement speed alone because he's kind of, with that low down stature and low down body size, his movement speed and the way that he shoots is kind of related to each other, so I don't want to like screw with that too much. I will give him an increase to his projectile speed, so hopefully it'll be just a little bit better to use him at long ranges as well, though. So that's the theory there. Next we will do Tracer. Tracer, this is going to be weird, guys, but I think she should be able to use Blink like whenever she would like. But I think that she should be able to use Recall a little bit less, but also still a little bit more. You know what I mean? It's like, basically she should be able to blink all over the place, but your recall you should be using like way less often, because I always feel like I'm running into somebody that so let's actually leave that at 100, right? So you're just encouraged to use more blink, right? Because I don't have a problem chasing you around with blink. I just, when you can constantly use recall to get back to health and all that kind of stuff, it's a little bit annoying. And I might even buff this up to 125. That might be more realistic for how I want her character to work, to be honest. So let's do that. Then you can't rely on recall. Recall is a thing that happens sometimes, you know what I mean? If you've survived long enough blinking around all over the place to get the recall, essentially. So damage dealt, actually going to buffer, and I'm going to buff the projectile speed to match, and that is actually something. Let's actually buffer all the way 125, right? Reason for this being that it's like, I think that Tracer should be able to kill you in one clip, one magazine. And when you go up to somebody and you put all of the bullets from both magazines into them and they turn around and shoot you with one shot and kill you, not really fair in my opinion. So I think that as much as I don't like chasing after tracers, this is what I think her character should be. She should be annoying. You should have to chase her all over the map. Should be able to go all over the place. Sometimes she can do the recall thing and show up somewhere you weren't expecting, and she can kill you if you're not careful. You know what I mean? Instead of just being a constant harassing annoyance and you can't kill anything at range. So hopefully those changes will make a difference for her. Widowmaker is another character like Genji that's probably going to get one of the biggest buffs as far as their abilities and their damage. But grappling hook, I'm going to make that like you can always use, I want you to always be able to use the grappling hook, because you're vulnerable while you're using it, and yes, you can use it to get out of sticky situations, but only if there's somewhere to go. And also, like, as a sniper, you need to be able to like move around the map and adjust where your position is and all those kinds of things, and like it makes her character more playable, makes her more viable, makes her more deadly. She's called Widowmaker. She should be like deadly. That should be the whole thing, you know? So same thing with Venom Mine. I think she should be able to use that more often as well. I'm going to do about 50%. I don't know. I would probably tweak that to make it so she could use it whenever she needs to, but that's just going off of just a rough estimate. Damage dealt, once again, I'm going to go high with the buff, because I think that when she hits certain characters with the sniper rifle, I think she should kill them. And there's certain ones that she doesn't, and I think she should. So that's that. Also, I think that her assault rifle should be comparable to Soldier 76's assault rifle. I think they should be able to go head to head and be like, who's gonna win? I don't know. You know, instead of it being like Soldier 76 just outweighs Widowmaker's assault rifle hands down. Like, if they're both the same, roughly the same weapon, they should both be working about the same. You should be about as scared. So it's going to make Widowmaker a more deadly character, that's for sure. Damage received, healing, all that stuff's going to stay the same. I will give her a slight buff to the movement speed and a slight buff to projectile speed as well. Because she's a sniper, you want those shots to hit where you aim them. And she can slide around a little bit more with 15% more on the movement speed. So just makes her a little bit looser, hopefully, when you're aiming, so that some of this is like once again, same kind of thing that I did with Hanzo, is that she's hopefully going to be a little bit harder to aim because she moves around a little bit quicker, a little bit more when she moves, but at the same time she's going to do way more damage. So hopefully that helps to balance her out. Getting close to the end here, guys. This is good. Winston. Barrier projector. I'm going to make it so that Winston can use his barrier pretty much twice as fast whenever he needs to. And same thing with the jump pack. I know that expert players with Winston can use these things to great effect to wreak havoc on a team. So I might take it down to a 25% on his jump pack, but that could also lead to just a really crazy hectic game with Winston's just jumping all over the place. So it's got to be somewhere kind of in between there. So I don't know, I'm gonna just leave it at 50, but you guys know what I mean. You kind of want Winston to be able to put up the barrier, right? And when the barrier gets destroyed, jump to a new position, put down a new barrier, right? So that he's survivable. He can, you know, they have to really destroy your barrier and kill you in order to get you. Just like with Reinhardt, when he has his shield up, you can't kill him while he's got the shield up, but once you kill the shield, then you get to destroy him. You know what I mean? That's the same way Winston should be working. And that jump ability, if that's all he's got to get around, to get to a new spot where he's safe to throw another shield down, he should be able to use it when he needs to. So it's not really doing a lot of damage. Let's just turn that up. Let's turn it up. Why does it matter? You know what I mean? Let's also give Winston a nice, decent buff to his damage. And I'm gonna... Actually, he needs a buff to his movement speed. A significant one, too, because he's a gorilla. He runs on all fours, and he walks slower than some of the humans. Like, it's silly. It's silly. He's a huge gorilla. He should be able to move around. Projectile speed, I have no idea if this will make any difference, but I'll give him a 15% buff. And now I know I've given him the ability to use his barrier projector a little bit more often, which should make him more survivable. But Winston has always felt like if Reinhardt has 500 health, Winston feels like he has 300 health. He just feels weak. He feels like you take 2 shots with him and you're dead. He doesn't feel like Roadhog or Diva or something where you can like stand there for a little while and take a few hits and you don't have to worry about it or whatever. It's like Winston's probably like the weakest tank in my opinion, so I'm also going to give him a straight up boost to his health of 25%. Hopefully that's enough. If it's not, I'll buff it or nerf it depending on where it needs to go, but that's my general opinion of where that needs to be for him to be, you know, comparable to some of the other tanks that are out there. If that's his role, he should be able to play it, you know? So next we have Zarya. And Zarya is an interesting one. I think that her particle ability, I would do like maybe an 85%, and her projected barrier, I would do like a 50%. So that way, like, you can put the barrier on yourself a little bit more often. Some people can use Zarya really well, so this might be a mistake. This might mean that she's just too hard to kill. So this might go back up to 100. But her projected barrier, the one that you can shoot on your friends, I think you should be able to shoot that, like, you know what I mean? Let's do this. This is what I think, you know, is that you should be able to, when you need to heal or shield one of your friends, you should be able to do the job. You shouldn't just be sitting there all the time waiting for the ability to do that, you know? And it changes how she works a little bit, but I think it makes her better as a character, you know? It's kind of how she's supposed to work. She's got these shields, she's shielding everybody, she can shield herself sometimes, but she should be mostly concentrating on, here, I can shield my friends because I'm the tank. That's my job, right? Damage dealt, gonna give her a little buff and a little buff to the projectile speed. Movement speed, I'm actually gonna leave the same for her because she's a big character. She moves around kind of like Torbjorn, how the way that she shoots is kind of linked to her movement speed, and I don't want to screw with that too much, because if I start making her faster, she's going to be harder to hit things with her beam attack, and I don't want to do that. I also don't want to make her slower because it'll make it easier for her to hit stuff with her beam attack. So she's kind of on that cusp of, you still have to aim, you have to be accurate, sometimes you miss, sometimes you kill the guy, but you want it to be fast enough, but you don't want her to start moving around faster than she needs to be. So I'm just going to leave that. And finally, Zenyatta, another character that I'm going to change quite significantly. So the orbs here, I would put these both at twice as much. This is just, like I say, like, I don't know how often this is going to be. I might still switch how this is. But my idea for Zenyatta is that when I'm playing as Zenyatta, I want to be able to heal my team. I want to be able to be like, okay, I need to heal that guy, then I need to heal that guy, and then I need to heal that guy. And when you're playing Zenyatta, you can heal that first guy, and then you're like, shit, I'm waiting for my orb to cool down again. And so maybe the second guy dies, and maybe you get it to the third guy. But it's like Mercy, you can run around and you can hit the first guy, second guy, third guy, you go back and forth, jump around all day long. So it's like, how is that comparable? You know what I mean? If you're a healer, you should be able to heal when you need to heal. That's their whole job, right? So for healing, and the Discord, which is the one that prevents the enemy from getting healed, I think that Zenyatta should be able to use them whenever he needs to. I'm hoping 50% is enough. If it's not, I would lower both of these down until it gets to the point where he can heal everybody, just like Mercy, just like Lucio, just like Anna throwing the grenade. It's like heal whoever they need to, whenever they need to. That's the job of the healer. So then also here, Transcendence, going to leave that just the way that it is, because that happens often enough, as we all know. Damage dealt. Zenyatta is a bit of an interesting character because the damage that they do with their single shot close up, or their single shot range attack, let's call it, does a decent amount of damage, but it does take a few shots to kill somebody. A couple more than I would like. It probably takes like 5 or 6 shots to kill somebody with Zenyatta. I would prefer it to be about 4. You know what I mean? So I want to take off a couple of those shots. So I'm gonna actually increase them up to 125, right? And the damage dealt, healing received, all that stuff, I'm going to leave the same. The other thing I'll say about the damage dealt is this is also going to increase for his charge up shot, where he charges up all 5 and then throws them. I'm also hoping that this is going to make it so that he's more effective at range, so that when he does hit somebody with some of that stuff, they're going to die, rather than you needing to get a direct like headshot kind of kill on somebody in order to gain the benefit of using that stuff at long range. I want to kind of make it so if you've spent the time to charge up an attack, it's going to be more lethal, you know. So just kind of across the board, make him a little bit more deadly, a little bit more of something that you got to watch out for on the map, that you got to stay away from, and also make him a little bit more of a character that you want to play on, instead of being like, oh crap, I'm Zenyatta again, you know. So, or a character that you're like, okay, I can do something with this, you know, I'm not at a disadvantage compared to everybody else, right? So what is the other big changes that we need to make here? Well, let's give him the projectile speed, just because that'll match him up with pretty much everybody else that we've done here. The biggest change that I'm going to make to any character in this game, and the biggest change that I'm going to make, is to Zenyatta's movement speed. Zenyatta moves like a snail. I'm being kind here. He is very slow. And I don't think that that's right, for a couple reasons. And I'm going to base this off of games that I've played before. When I played Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare, they have the Flower character, and the Flower is a healer. And the way that the Flower works is they can throw healing out to one character, and they have a little pot that they can throw out for themselves and stand next to and guard an area, and then heal the people that are around them there. So it's kind of cool for how that works. That Flower character is the fastest moving walking character in the game. Where every other character has some sort of movement ability where they can get from point A to point B, and they can dash, or they can go up in the air, or they can shield themselves, or they have some sort of move that protects them when they're coming up to rush you or something like that. Like they can go underground or whatever their thing is, right? It's like every other character has some sort of ability like that. The Sunflower doesn't. The Sunflower sits there with the pot. You know that they're there. You know that they're not going to be moving much from this spot, so what is their advantage? Their advantage is that they can move really fast to get back into battle quickly to heal up their friends, and to move around to dodge bullets and stuff when you're up at close range and stuff like that. So for Zenyatta, him being slow and a healer and a ranged player, he ends up being, kind of think of him as, once again, another sniper healer, when we already have Ana, who is a sniper healer in this game. And some people can play Zenyatta effectively as a support style, you know, up with the group, and then using the ultimate to, you know, what is it, look upon the iris, or look into the iris, or whatever it is, whatever he says. And he floats around in the middle of everybody and then heals them up. But then he always has to, like, run back somewhere and hide, and like take shots at people from long range, do his charge up attacks and all that kind of stuff, and throw the healing out. So you're kind of in this in-between place where sometimes you can throw the healing on your friends, but you can't really see the enemies to throw the Discord orbs on them. You're not really able to always necessarily play at the range where you would be more useful to your team in that sense, and be able to cover an area like any of the other characters, like a McCree, like a Soldier 76, and I think that he should be comparable to some of those characters, like a Hanzo, like a Genji. He should be able to go up against some of these characters without it being such a, like, I'm a sitting duck, you know, and this Genji's just like filling me full of throwing stars, and I can't go anywhere, and where's my team? And you know, I can't even heal myself. I can't, like, there's no moves that I can do to protect myself or do anything, and you know, I'm just getting destroyed. If he was able to move faster to get away and to stay out of range and to like dodge attacks and stuff like that, he'd be a more viable character. So like I said, the largest increase I'm going to do in this game, and the largest buff I'm giving to any character, is 150% movement speed to Zenyatta. I would consider even making this higher if he's not fast enough. I think he should be the fastest walking character in the game. Like, when you spawn at the spawn, Zenyatta should be able to like run circles around everybody else, because he's a healer, because he's supposed to be able to do that. He's supposed to be able to move around like Mercy, like, you know what I mean, to be able, like Lucio, to be able to get to the people that need the healing, because you're not always going to have an angle to be able to see them, and then even when you do get to see them, man, hitting them with the orb half the time is a pain in the butt anyway. So I think this is going to make him a much more viable character and make him more fun to play, you know. So basically, guys, that's every single character, the way that I would change them. I can give you like a very quick scroll down here at the side of the screen through the summary. I'm just going to go a few seconds for each one, but that's a list of all of the changes that I've made to all of these characters, if it's easier for you to look at it in a list form, you know what I mean? So just so you guys know. And there we go. So that's all the characters and all of the changes that I would make. And this is how I would like to be able to set up my characters for every time that I do a custom game on my own. The one problem with that is that these custom game settings, you can't save them, which is a bit of a problem. I wish that you could save all of those settings so that every time I come in and create a custom game, it's already got that stuff saved. Hopefully they'll be able to add that feature so that it makes it easier for us to be able to run games like this all the time with our friends, because having to go back through and adjust each one of those things individually, it takes a little bit of time. Like, I don't know how long we are here, but it feels like it's been a little bit of time making this episode, so we'll see how long it is at the end. But basically the last thing I'll say before I go is the other change that I would like to make, that if I could, would be above where I have my cursor on friends only, it says Shock Troopers Game. That's the name of the lobby that I'm creating. I'd like to be able to change that, so I could change it and say that it's like the most balanced the most balanced Overwatch lobby possible, or something like that. Call my lobby that, so that when people are looking through the list of games to join, it said, oh, this guy likes to make his match balanced, that's what he's going for here, I can go and join that. Or if I was going to create a game that was like it's a 6-on-1, and you know, everybody's going up against the Reaper, and the Reaper has like super health and everybody else has, like, you know what I mean, half health or something like that. You can create a game like that here, and I would want to be able to call it like 6-on-1 versus the Reaper or something as the title of the lobby, so that people know what they're joining into. Hopefully these are changes, once again, like I said, that they're working on bringing to console and bringing to the game, so that it'll make the game browser a little bit more accessible for everybody that's trying to use it, just in a general sense. But I'll just show you here, guys, really quickly, like under the find. Thank you to everybody for coming and checking out how I like to balance my characters in Overwatch. If you liked this episode, please hit the like button. If you are new around the channel, please consider subscribing. We also stream from Monday through Saturday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so if you'd like to come and hang out and ask any questions, or just come and have a good time, we are hanging out pretty much every night of the week, and we'd love for you to come and join us. And yeah, guys, join us next time for more epic adventures here on Dark Ninja Gaming, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Woot! We'll see ya. Boom!